I'm just going to use a regular yarn and make it loose. You can loosen it and leave it on the floor so it's not too tight. And we find the end of the yarn. The first step is to go through here. That's the first one. And the second one is this one. Thread through this one. Just go in like that. And the third one, we have to zoom out a little bit. It's here. That's the tension rod. It's very simple. There's a hook here. You just thread it through the hook. And then the next step is to go through this one here. I like to add a paper clip at the end of yarn, just for a little bit away so it doesn't interfere with the cast on. You just hang there. Now we are trying to do the cast on according to the instruction, the basic one. We pull out every other needle first. We'll look at here. That's the needle. This is 0. It depends on how many needle you want. And this is position here. Position A, B, C, D. We're going to pull every other needle to position B. That's the knitting position. So here, 1, 2. You can use the needle pusher. I'm just using my hand now. Here is a needle pusher for 1 by 1. Okay, return the counter back to 0, 0, 0, and we can start knitting the first row. Make sure the yarn is in the front. Now that's the first row, and we have to hang the cast on comb. Make sure it's centered. Okay. And the second part, we have to move the other needle to the B position. Or you can use the needle pusher. Okay, and we continue knitting. Oops. Make sure the yarn is loose. Okay, now we just knit the first row. Now we can continue knitting. Make sure your tension is in the right dial. When it's higher, it's for thicker yarn, and when it's lower, it's for thin yarn. I have the worsted weight. I just put on the 5, the middle. Going to do an E-rod cast on this machine, Singer LK100. This is a shortened version of my machine. I make it shorter so it fits anywhere. It doesn't take a lot of space. I have the worst weight yarn and just keep it loose on the floor in front of the machine. At the end of the yarn, I use a clip and we start E-wrapping. Here is the center 0. For the test, we just do a few stitches. You can use, oh, you don't need this. It depends on how many stitches you want. Pull out the needles. And we start E-wrapping. Just a regular E-wrap, like an E. It looks like the letter E. Keep it loose and push it back. And make sure all the needles push back to C position. This A, B, C, D. Push it back to the C position. And now we start to thread the yarn. First through the holes. And we go up to the yarn guy here. We go through the yarn guy. And then go here. Just slide in, and then it's this one. Slide in from left to right. And that's it. Keep the yarn in the front. Row counter back to 000. Now we can start knitting. The first row is a little bit harder. I have tension 5 on the worst weight yarn. And then we hand the weight. Some stitch doesn't knit very well. You have to hand knit it a little bit. Make sure the first row looks okay. Hand away. You can also just hand a few of the claw away. I use a cast-on comb that comes with the LK100. And now just keep going back and forth. Gets easier after the first few rows. And you can change the tension here. I have tension 5. You can change to 7. That's it. Easy, right? Here's a bind off I liked. First, you have to take off the yarn from the carriage. Slide it out. And then we can manually knit it. We pull out the needle and put the yarn inside the hook inside the hook and push back. Now you have one stitch knitted, and then move this stitch to the next stitch and push the yarn out, push the needle out all the way, and put the yarn back to the hook. Another stitch knitted, and we transfer this needle, make it bigger. Transfer this needle to the next needle and put the yarn in the loop in the hook and push back. Another stitch bind off. Just keep doing that. Make sure it's not too tight or too loose. Make sure you take off the yarn weight before you finish the last stitch so it doesn't drop everything down on the floor or on your foot. Okay, the last stitch. Transfer to the last needle. Put the yarn in the hook and knit. That's it. Now we can just cut it up, thread it through, and that's it. Here's a finished piece. The plain stockinette stitch. This is the back side. This is the front. Okay.